Start.
Okay. I would like to call to order the Maplewood City Council meeting for Tuesday, September 30th, 2020. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Crossley,
Here.
Councilmember Fockingham,
here.
Mayor Greenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Pardini,
Here.
Councilmember Phillips,
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Here.
Councilmember Wood,
Here.
Mayor Greenberg, a quorum is present.
Thank you. Item number 5 is the approval of the council agenda.
Before you do that, Mayor, may I,
Oh, I'm sorry. I asked you that question, then I just, okay.
no problem. As we all know, we've heard far too often, Section 610.015 of the Missouri Sunshine Law provides that members of the council, not physically present in the council chambers, can participate and vote on all matters when an emergency exists, and the nature of the emergency must be stated in the minutes. So again, I'm asking that the minutes reflect that unfortunately we are still in the state of an emergency due to COVID-19 or coronavirus. The city council is meeting in order to protect themselves as well as the public, and the meeting again will be conducted remotely. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll move on to the approval of the council agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion, a second. Are there any revisions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Item number 6 is a public hearing to hear citizens' comments on the proposed 2020 property and personal property tax rates. Do we have anyone with a raised hand?
Mr.
No,
Slavin,
sir,
the only attendee.
Okay. All right then. Then that public hearing is closed. Item number 7 is the public forum, but we don't have any attendees. The only one, Bob Slavin, can talk if he wants to, but otherwise we'll move on to announcements. Does anyone?
Mr. Slavin has not raised his hand, so I think we're good.
I was just going to say a few announcements. The Maplewood Public Library, I saw where they had some really cool events going on for the month of October. And to get the details, you can just go to the Maplewood Public Library events calendar. Looks like they've got some cool stuff. And also, the Mid-County Chamber is having their silent auction, their virtual. It's their biggest fundraiser normally of the year. And that's between October 19th and the 23rd. That's help supporting our businesses. And the details on that will be how you can participate is on their website too, the Chamber's website.
Thank you, Karen. Any other announcements? Okay, moving on. Item number 9 is Bill 6147, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maplewood, Missouri, establishing the tax rates for the City of Maplewood and the Maplewood Special Business District on all real, personal, tangible, and intangible property within the City of Maplewood, Missouri for the year 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Crossley,
Yes.
Councilmember Fockingham,
Yes.
Mayor Greenberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Pardini,
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
Yes.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Bill 6147 becomes ordinance number 5942.
Thank you. Item number 10 is Bill 6150, an ordinance of the City of the City Council of the City of Maplewood, Missouri, requesting that St. Louis County distribute $47 million of CARES Act funds on a per capita basis to the municipalities within the county to be used for eligible expenses, authorizing the city manager of the City of Maplewood, Missouri to accept CARES Act funding and execute a municipality relief program funding agreement, and confirming agreement to indemnify and hold harmless St. Louis County from such distribution.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Is there any discussion?
Just one quick typo that I noted, on the per capita basis, should be BASIS.
We'll get that. Thank you, Sandy.
Mhm.
I just wanted to thank you, Anthony, for sending us the spreadsheet. I thought it looked really good, and I appreciated that context.
No problem.
Okay, and any other comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Fockingham,
Yes.
Mayor Greenberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Pardini,
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
Yes,
Councilmember Schmidt,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossley.
Yes.
Bill 6150 becomes ordinance number 5943.
Thank you. Item number 11 is council communication. Are there any items that council wants to discuss? Okay. I'll move on to mayor's report. I don't know if anyone had a chance to look at the spreadsheet that I had sent around, but it shows the people that have applied for boards and commissions. There, it shows their priorities with regards to which ones they would like to serve on. Unfortunately, I contacted all of the board chairman chairs and commission chairs, and I had to leave messages for some people, and I haven't. And the ones that I didn't talk to, I went ahead and contacted the individual members whose terms have expired in June, and I did that yesterday after not necessarily being able to contact the chair for the commission. So I don't know. One observation I'd like to make, since we do have so many applicants, I would like to strongly consider having alternates for all of the boards and commissions, so that people can serve in some capacity. The biggest problem that we've had is it's not often that we don't have a quorum for some of our boards and commissions, but it would be really nice if we had an alternate that if we felt that someone wasn't going to be able to attend the meeting, that they can participate. It would also put them in line for a full position later on, and they'd already be trained and understand what the board and commission does. So what is council's thoughts on having alternates?
I thought we discussed this during the big discussion in council meeting a few, however many weeks ago, and that we decided that that was not a super functional, great role to offer citizens, and that the board that has the most difficulties with quorum does have an alternate, and that one it is critical to have an alternate, but that for the other ones it's more useful to just ask people to serve, and to not have, ask only people who want to serve to be serving.
And
Yeah.
I think, no, go ahead, Sarah.
I just was going to say, I'm not confident that our ordinances allow us to establish alternates. So then I would be concerned about any sort of votes or decisions a board made. with like an alternate making a vote or being a deciding factor, if that would be a problem for us. I am excited by this list, though. I think we have a great volume of candidates, and I think that's fantastic.
And that's what I was going to hit on, is that we got a lot. So I feel like if someone is finding that they're not able to attend meetings regularly, that hopefully we shouldn't have a problem replacing that person, I guess. I feel like it's a lot to ask someone to be on call to maybe show up to a meeting and not know what's going on. Like, would it's almost like you'd be expecting them to follow along everything. They would have no idea. So I guess it doesn't, what Eleanor said is what I recalled too from that discussion.
The only other thing I would note about the list is that I think there are some, Barry, thank you for individually contacting the members whose terms are up. I wonder if we should give a couple more days to those folks to make sure anybody who does want to continue to serve has a chance to submit the form.
Well, with regard to the, to establishing a deadline, I talked to, I think Laura Miller indicated that there's somewhere around 537 residents or people on the email blast. And I don't know how many people follow Facebook and just follow us on social media, but the Maple Leaf goes to every resident.
Sorry, Barry. I just want to, I wasn't asking about the regular deadline. Can we close out the topic of the list and the people who are serving on expired terms before we talk about a general deadline? If you contacted those people yesterday, right?
Yes. And
I guess if we're setting a deadline, though, wouldn't it be the same if we're gonna, I guess that would, if we're extending the 30th, I mean, it would be fair to give those people the same amount of time everyone else has, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's a decision that we have to make, but
Right.
But the deadline was today, right?
yes.
Yes, it was.
But
But I agree, that's not enough time for people who are currently serving to have just found out yesterday. So it does need to be extended.
I do think that the topic of the schedule, though, is relevant with regards to talking about the distribution of the Maple Leaf. And so if I can continue, if we have 500 people getting emails, and those are people that we know that have internet access, and of those people, we've had a very good response. But in the interest of reaching those people that don't have internet access, or those people that don't look at all of their emails, I would think that it would be a good idea to publish the letter that I produced, that we reviewed, and allow other people to apply for those board and commission positions. I don't see the urgency to necessarily set a deadline and make decisions right away. We have people serving on those boards and commissions, and they're doing a good job.
I thought we talked about this last time, and I think everybody was sort of in agreement that like sooner is better than later, because those people are serving 4 months past their terms. Did we find out when the Maple Leaf goes out?
I don't have a definitive answer for you, Anthony.
Does Anthony know?
I thought it was in November normally.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I heard. It was November, unless something has been changed, then it would be November.
Anthony,
Anthony,
do you have any input on that?
The date.
I'm texting Laura right now,
Thank you.
and I'll let you know.
And I
Okay,
guess
I know that they're in production right now, so I can't imagine that it's going to be November.
And how many seats are open, like that are up? Because, I know a lot of people just found out, but we only have 2 people who've reapplied. So that may be a telling factor too, to timeliness of when, people are ready to move on and have someone else come in.
Briefly going through the list, we've got Board of Adjustment is everyone serving at least till 2022. Civil Service Commission is the same. Design and Review Board, we do have a vacancy right now. Paul Barker resigned. And I believe that it's not on my list, but I believe Matt Wolf was reappointed till 2022. So that means we would have one vacancy on Design and Review Board. Same with Historic Preservation Commission, since they're the same members. Library Board has 3 members whose terms technically expired June 30th of 2020.
What are the,
And I think one of those is a vacancy where the person is not reapplying, at least one.
Yeah, and I don't know. Evan was going to contact the other 2 people, and I don't know if he was able to get a hold of John Eric and Tamara. So
There is one other, Mayor Greenberg, Jackie Robb today her time was up, and she's decided that she does not want to be on the Plan Commission anymore. So
yeah,
that came out of the email like around 4 o'clock this afternoon. So
I talked to her at great length yesterday, and she's not in a position right now to sign back up.
there will also, we got one more application today that's not on the list, which is it just came in a little later than you pulled the names, that's all.
Was it one of the incumbents?
It was, yeah, Lisa Parks.
Oh, Lisa Parks. Yeah, and I talked to Dan Noonan, who's the chair, and yeah, Lisa is up, Megan is up, and so I haven't. You say we've received something from Lisa. I missed that. So yes, it would be helpful to have some more time. Donna on Planning and Zoning, Jackie Robb and Donna Radkowski and Mike Hummert. I talked to those 3 yesterday. Donna had reapplied. Jackie had indicated that she will not be doing that. Mike Hummert did not give me an indication either way with regards to whether he was going to reapply or not.
Just for clarification, because Mike's name isn't on the list for planning and zoning, but there's someone named Megan Doherty who's on that list. I don't know where that.
No, Megan Doherty is on the, is not on planning and
She's
zoning,
on Parks, I think.
Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Excel document that Eleanor, you had sent earlier this year, so it may have been updated since then to maybe correct that, but that's why I was.
And I'm not trying to interrupt. I just want to let everybody know Laura got back to me, and the Maple Leaf should be at people's homes the week of November, or of she's hoping the first week of November or November 9th at the latest.
And that's just too late, I think. You've already had people expressing they're done and they're doing us a service by staying on.
And
I mean, I understand what you're getting at, and I think we all understand that. And I guess it's just, to me, it's a balancing between those 2 things. And like we said, there was something in the last Maple Leaf about how to go online and apply for boards and commissions or to reach out. So I feel better about that at least that was in there last time. I don't know what anyone else thinks about that.
It sounds like the unfinished business here is maybe us identifying the deadline by which we want everyone on expired terms to have made a decision so that we can then start pulling from the bucket of people who've already applied. Because it sounds like we maybe have somewhere between like 15 to 20 potential spots between expired terms, applications we haven't received yet, and or actual vacancies. And since those folks were notified just yesterday, I think it's only fair to give them additional time to apply, but it doesn't make sense to draw this out for a whole additional month to a month and a half. When we've got qualified candidates ready to go, and we've already notified via the Maple Leaf.
Yeah.
Should we give them?
I assume we would leave, oh, sorry, Eleanor, go ahead.
Monday at noon?
Wednesday.
I would give someone at least a week to,
I agree.
Wednesday.
I mean, especially if, what date are we going to meet to talk about it? I think that's a relevant factor in this too. When are we going to discuss this?
Yeah.
Well, that.
Your next meeting is not till October 13th.
Right.
Yeah.
So how about close of business on Wednesday, the 7th? Because then, well, that would be very rapid turnaround time to get the list to us to read with the council packet, but that seems reasonable.
And my understanding is, John, this discussion we have about this would be on the public record, right? Because that's what I thought. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a proposal for October 7th. Is everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah, I think that gives people enough time to make a decision.
Okay, I'll contact the chairs again. And let them know that, and I have their email addresses, so I will email everyone tonight or tomorrow morning and let them know that if any of their members would like to reapply. A lot of them, some of the people that I talked to didn't realize that their terms were up.
Right.
And so, they were more than happy to continue serving. But they weren't cognizant of the fact that there were terms. So
does that mean at our October 13th meeting, then we are going to discuss this? And if so, would that be a work session type thing, or would it be in the meeting?
I would do it before the meeting so that we can get these people nominated and approved.
Yeah.
So,
could somebody come up with like an agenda or a process for that work session?
I can work with Mayor Greenberg once he gets this list. We'll go ahead and schedule a work session October 13th for 6 p.m.
But like from 6 to 7:15 p.m., like how we will have an agenda to get the discussion done.
We can do that.
Thank you.
And I do have one other thing that's unrelated, but we talked about it briefly last week. The school district is looking to discuss the Lohmeyer gates, and they requested a work session to do so. I take it we'd want to have them do it possibly the following week, because I'm assuming you're probably going to take the entire hour and a half, or roughly hour and a half for the boards and commissions. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also want us to be maybe mindful of like other ongoing things that we may need a work session in October for.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Like hiring our city manager.
yeah.
Yes.
And
I
that,
can,
yeah.
I can do Mondays or Thursdays if we need to schedule additional meetings, additional work sessions.
I know the council's busy, but I don't know what people's schedules look like on the 6th, which is a typical Tuesday. It's possible we could do the board and commission one that night. Just keep in mind the school district is requesting this, and you guys can tell me how you want me to slot it. So we have boards and commissions, we have city manager search, and we have obviously the school district's proposal for Lohmeyer. Just if you want to let me know how you want that schedule, we'll make sure to make it happen.
What were you going to say, Connie?
I was going to say, I think our deadline for the boards and commissions is after the 6th. So I guess if the school board can the school can get it together by that's only just Tuesday, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
What I can do,
I can do
what I
that.
can do, it's mostly consultants, and I believe they've been working on it. So I'll, if it's okay with the council, I would let them know we could either possibly meet the 6th, or if they can't do that date, let them see if the 20th would be available. Would that be available for everybody? Or we could just do the regularly scheduled meeting on the 27th. Any thoughts?
Yeah, if they could do the 6th, that would be fantastic, but I'm also open the 20th if we need to do that. The 27th. I don't know how urgent this issue is.
I don't believe it's that urgent because they're not talking about vacating, they're just talking about gates.
I
So
would
it
rather,
shouldn't,
sorry, I'd rather schedule this on the night of a regular meeting so that if we
Yeah.
need to have an emergency meeting, maybe.
perfect.
That's
Yeah.
I agree.
I'll let them know the 27th, if that's okay with everybody then.
That sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Then that leaves, since we're not going to be getting the board and commission resumes, finalized until the 7th, then October 6th, if we want, do we want to have a work session to discuss the city manager search?
Are
Well,
we doing that tonight?
Well,
yeah, we're,
Yeah, yes, we are.
I would wait
no,
to figure out.
If after tonight you need one, just let me know and we'll get the Zoom set
Okay.
up for the 6th.
That makes sense. Okay. And that concludes my report. Does the city attorney have a report?
I do not. I have nothing to report, Mayor.
Okay. City manager?
No report, but just let everybody know, I know I've spoken with a couple of you. I met today for about an hour, maybe even a little longer, with our social worker, Chris Bevan. And I'll be having, obviously on the 13th, I'll have more information. And at this point, Chris needed to check her schedule, but she thinks she'll also be available for questions the council may or may not have with respect to unhoused in town. So that should be coming up at our next council meeting. It was a very productive meeting.
Will we be able to see some of the data that Sarah asked for to contextualize what's happening prior to that, like in a packet?
The data Sarah requested was, I assume, I thought that was for, are we talking about for CARES, or are we talking about other,
Sorry.
oh, we were talking about the actual incident? Yeah.
Yeah. So
That was with the police reports. I mean, whether it's a police report or a CAD entry, a lot of those are CAD entries. So we've got someone on light duty. They're going through it right now. I'll definitely put together a memo along with all that information. I just haven't had a chance yet to get to it. And we're actually changing our strategy a little bit. It was actually Matt Nyber's idea, Lieutenant Nyber's idea, to start writing, well, we've been writing some citations and then dropping the citation in lieu of a meeting with Chris Bevan. And it was actually very successful. We just placed somebody today. And this was an individual that's been very apprehensive about even meeting with her at all. And everyone knows we had a serious violent incident at Hummer Park on a Sunday that was witnessed by a lot of children and a lot of adults. So we've been slowly increasing the pressure, for lack of a better word. We're trying to be compassionate. We're trying to work with the unhoused, but it really hasn't been as effective as we would like. So we are changing our tactics up, and we ran through all that. Like I said, that was really the purpose of the meeting with Chris Bevan today, because we started it after that incident. We went a little harder on actually writing some citations. And it's tonight, actually. They're actually making another sweep through the parks this evening and just, again, giving everyone her resource information. And we may do more of those. Just depends on who it is. We have a really good idea right now who's in town, or at least as good of an idea as we can. And so I'll be able to provide some background on that. I'll also, I believe Councilmember Crossley wanted a variety of just kind of a snapshot of the complaints. Some very serious, others more of a nuisance or quality of life issue. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to just give you a broad snapshot, and I'm going to try to include some calls, some social media posts, as well as some emails, just to give you an overall idea.
Yeah, I'd like to
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to understand the quantity and also the frequency. I think that's helpful.
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
It's an important issue, but I don't want to lose sight of like exactly what you were saying, Anthony, care and compassion. I think that can often be lost in the wrong room with a lot of loud voices. And so I think it's important to, balance these things. And I'd like to see sort of the quantity and frequency that we're getting of constituent complaints. But I appreciate your work on this, and I'm, looking forward to reading what you compile.
And that was something I had actually also asked Anthony, like to provide us a lot of factual information. Like, when we hear from people like someone did this, but understanding how many times that event is occurring is really helpful to know, because I think sometimes taking the emotion out and looking at the facts is helpful in understanding the bigger picture, because it is a very emotional issue. Another thing, Anthony, I was curious, if you know, and if not, I had kind of, after we spoke, done some research. I know one of the things that's happened, a lot of needles being found in the parks and like harmful stuff. And I noticed there's an organization in St. Louis that goes around and distributes these harm reduction kits to people, like as a safe place to dispose of needles and stuff. And I was curious if the police have reached out to that organization at all, or if they are aware of it. That may be something good in the meantime to see if they would come, because that was my understanding that there was a lot of drug use going on.
In fact, we're finding out that drug use is essentially prevalent in not all, but the vast majority of our unhoused individuals. So, and there are definitely some needles being discovered. And what's most disturbing is the locations, because they're in a park. Mm-hmm. And so I've heard good things and bad things about those, because again, they don't always make it in there, especially if people are using hard drugs. A lot of times they don't make it in those actual boxes. But, and then also we're going to need to decide at that meeting, whether would you really want to put those at a pavilion in a park?
No, it's not, it's for the individual, right, to carry around.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant they were
No, it's a kit that they give to individuals so that it helps reduce harm to them too. And because, as we know, drug addiction is a very difficult thing to overcome. So it often takes many attempts. So in the meantime, while someone is using, then it may be, hopefully, at least if they're disposing of it in that instead of on the ground, that at least helps.
I did not know. I was thinking of the other. I'd heard of the other.
I'm not. No, I don't want to do that. No,
Councilmember Schmidt, I agree that would be good. I will definitely pass that along. And so basically what I propose doing is basically giving a little outline from roughly July 1st to where we are now. And I know I don't typically go on social media, but Laura Miller's gone on social media for me. So there's definitely some misconceptions out there. And so I'm going to basically try to break down everything we've done, all of our contacts. I'm going to emphasize the work we've been doing with our social worker and coordinating with our social worker, and where we've been successful and where we've had failures. I'm just going to try to lay it out as short and sweet and simple as possible. And it'll give you guys a little bit better idea for future policy decisions. So we are working on that. And that was, again, what I said earlier, that was what our main meeting was today, just to make sure what we're doing is considered best practices for someone such as Chris Bevan, who we know she's got a lot of experience with unhoused individuals.
Anthony, have the hobo signs reappeared after the rain?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
And I actually asked her if that's, again, because it seems kind of, it seems a little odd, but she said, no, there's clearly, they clearly have communication systems where they will do markings and write on, with chalk on structures and on sidewalks. And she said that's very common. for areas when they're basically saying, hey, this is considered a good place to go. And that's kind of what's happening right now.
I guess my only other request is if any way that the food boxes are going to be brought into this, I guess I would request that if not already having conversations with Maplegood about that and trying to work with them instead of just this, I guess I don't want those to be totally blamed for this, or if that's a problem.
She was not supportive of that idea at all. So we will definitely contact them and bring them in beforehand so they won't be blindsided by it. She agrees with the idea of providing that, but she essentially said it goes against all best practices just to allow it at any and every time. She mentioned the need for, specific times of day. And I didn't get into specifics about it because we just gave her a background. She asked questions, and again, I have follow-up meetings with her. And before I put my memo together to the council, I'm going to make sure she reviews it of anything I say about it, and she's going to be there to answer questions. We briefly touched on those, but she did not like the idea of just having something out open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Anthony, are there more than one instances or locations where unhoused people have taken a shopping cart and just emptied the whole table or the whole pantry? I know it's happened on occasion.
I've been more focused on the parks as opposed to the food pantries, but I know Laura Miller met with some individuals from Maplegood, and she told me that was discussed. I think it happens primarily at Yale, but I can follow up with Laura to see if that's an issue. They basically go in and clear everything out. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. And if we sort of figure out what they're doing with the food, if they're distributing it to other unhoused people, or if they're selling it for drugs, or.
I know that there are a lot of comments of people who are dropping off food at the mini pantries, and they meet somebody who is picking up food at the mini pantry. Often that person is a senior, somebody who is disabled, who is a resident who lives in an apartment in Maplewood, and who says, thank you for the food being there.
And that's why I think that I don't want this to overshadow the good that those are doing for our residents. And so that's why I guess I just didn't want that to be blind.
It's going to be a overall snapshot of what's going on. This is not going to be a situation where we're going to be casting blame. It's just going to be based on her comments and
Sure.
where we are, because we went from, whether it's a few individuals, we're probably up to 22 to 24 now. And so we're basically following her plan of action on this, because that's her one comment is you just have to have a plan as far as just putting stuff out there. And she made the comment about rules and regulations, and you can't just say you don't need to have any structure and rules don't need to apply. And so she said their outreach, sometimes if people have difficulty, they'll find ways to get them services and or food. She even made a mention of an individual that's got a mental disorder that lives in Maplewood. He's unhoused, and they go out. I don't know if it's daily or how often it is, but they actually have someone go out and find this individual and make sure they get their proper medication. So there's a support network in there that she's just recommending we follow. And again, she's going to be in attendance.
Okay.
And I'll also put in my memo some of these ideas so you're not hearing it for the first time at that meeting. That's why I'm having these preliminary meetings with her, so I can basically convey to the council before the actual public meeting of what some of the recommendations she's made, as well as some of the changes, the evolution of our process with the unhoused. Because clearly just going out there and saying, hey, you're not supposed to be here, wasn't really working. It just kept bringing more and more individuals in. And and I think I talked to you about this, Councilmember Schmidt, one of the things that make Maplewood, such a good place to live is the compassion a lot of these residents have. So word is out that you can come to Maplewood and essentially get a very good handouts or there's food available and there's shelter available. So that's kind of what's happening is if you make it accessible and you offer these services or these goods, or residents are just kind-hearted and will give a lot of handouts or donations, more and more are hearing about that. Again, there's a communication system and more are coming.
Yeah, and I guess, sorry, and I'll stop, but I guess the point I was trying to make is that most of the people being served by those food boxes are not unhoused people. So I am just wanting to bring in all the interested parties so we can all work together to try to find a solution that allows us to keep serving our residents that are in need without getting rid of those if possible. So I'm glad that Laura's already talking with them. I didn't want them to all of a sudden come upon us having this discussion about this issue, and it's the first time they're hearing it. So I'm glad
No,
that
it's not.
they're already
And it's not going to be,
That's great.
and it's not going to be under that context at all. It's going to be simply about unhoused, and it's because we're getting, honestly, there's just because of some of the some of the criminal activity, and I think that's what's
Yeah.
concerning people.
Yes.
And again, the fact that it's in public parks, and there's a lot of people out there with families. I think that's what people's concerns are. It's not going to be a discussion about food boxes.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, since we still only have one other attendee, I'll forego the second public forum. Item number 16 is the motion to hold a closed session.
I make a motion to hold a closed session regarding a personnel matter.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. We need a roll call for this.
Mayor Greenberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Pardini,
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
Yes.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossley,
Yes.
Councilmember Foggingham.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, the motion is approved.
Okay, before I entertain a motion to adjourn, it's 8:15. Do we want to reconvene at 8:30, 8:45, or 9 o'clock?
8:30.
8:30.
Yeah, it's going
8:30.
to take a while to render out the thing, so 8:30 would be perfect.
Okay. Bob, did you hear that? Oh, he's muted.
Yes, I heard it.
Okay, now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
And so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. We'll see you in 15 minutes.